Welcome to day 2 of our 7-day challenge, where we are building up our creative confidence so that we can actually love what we do. Yesterday, we talked about the inner critic, and in day 2, we are going to be talking about perfection and fear. I always say we are always chasing after perfection and running away from fear. And in actuality, we should be doing the complete opposite. Running away from perfection. Why? Because perfection doesn't exist. We can't physically obtain it. And then chasing after fear. Fear is growth. It's our achievement. It's how we challenge ourselves. So let's get into it. Perfection and fear. My name is Krista. I'm a full-time artist focusing on portrait art, also landscapes, and I love to share my process with all of you to become the confident, amazing artist that you are. So, perfection. How do we define that? How do we individually define it? I think we all can come forward and see a different perspective of the word perfection and how we try to obtain it. Our level of perfection comes in different shapes and sizes. We view it differently. But I feel perfection, no matter how you choose to define it or view it or see it within your own creative process and practice, perfection is the biggest killer of creativity. It prevents us from moving forward. It prevents us from learning. It prevents us from growing. And it also prevents us from taking on opportunities that may help us expand and grow in the future. Because why? I don't feel good enough. I'm not ready yet. It's not perfect yet. Just a little bit more, and I'll get there. And then what happens? We never really get there, or it never really gets perfect. So can we accept where we are in the given moment and embrace the amazingness of where we are and our growth, and know that we still have a ton to learn, but we can continue to grow, and where we are is good enough. So let's talk about opportunity. Opportunity is always approaching us in different forms. How many times have you let go of an opportunity because it just wasn't the right time, right? How many times did you say to yourself, I'm not ready yet. I'm not good enough right now. When I get to that level of excellency, then I'll do it. Now, fast forward. Have you taken advantage of these opportunities that have come forward? Or are you still giving yourself those same excuses? Why? Because yes, we are setting the bar towards perfection. We always do. It's human nature. We always want better for ourselves. We always want to do our best, right? We do. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, will we ever achieve that perfection that we want and desire? Will we ever get to that perfect point? Or is just growing and being where we are right now good enough? Yeah, it is. It's good enough. But remember, perfection just doesn't exist. We'll never get to that summit. We won't get there. Because perfect is perfect. Perfect means there are no flaws, right? There's no failure in the realm of perfection, right? You don't make mistakes. It's perfect. Well, we all have flaws. We will continue to stumble and fall along the way. In every step of the way, in every level that we get, we will find fault. And that is okay, because that is a part of growth. That's how we know that we're growing. Because if we make a mistake, or we have a flaw, we know that that is something we need to work on. There's always room for growth. I always say I will always be a work in progress. Always. I will never get to that point where I know everything, right? Because then what's the point? What's the point of creating when you've reached that point of perfection, right? So, we will always find fault in our stars. We will always find something to nitpick about. We will. It's just in our humanness, right? It's what makes us who we are as creatives and as people, right? So I wanted to share, so when I paint, I like to have background noise in the background. And so a lot of times I'll put on a TV show or I'll binge, not watch, but I'll binge listen to a series on Netflix or whatever is on, if it's good. And I'm always looking for something that I can just kind of has a ton of episodes and I can just kind of let it go as I'm painting. And so I recently watched every episode of The Twilight Zone from the very first to the last. And it's just background noise. And I do take a break and watch it every so often. But I used to love Twilight Zone when I was little, growing up. And so there was an episode that got me, and a lot of the episodes get you thinking, right? They get you thinking about your humanness and the decisions that you make. So there was one episode. It's called The Escape Clause. And basically the premise of it was this man, he was a hypochondriac and was just never happy about anything. And so I guess the devil or whatever he is. So he comes to the man and says, I can give you eternal life, right? You will never die. You can experience whatever you want and you will never get hurt. You will never die. You will live forever. And the guy, being a hypochondriac, always thinking he's going to die from something, was like, yes, I will take that. And so he was really happy. He made made this deal with the devil or whatever that person was. And he starts he's happier. He's no longer worried about dying. He's got this perfection of life. What is the perfection of life? Living forever, right? We don't grow old. We continue to live forever, right? So he's going through life and he's beginning to lose the sense of fulfillment. Really, he knows that he's reached that perfection of life, that he will never get old or he will never die, but he's lost the sense of fulfillment, the sense of meaning, right, as a human being. So he goes in the episode, I think he swallows bleach, he does everything he can to experience that fulfillment, right, of being vulnerable, being a human being, experience those things that we just can't do. We can't stand in front of a train and experience that because we will be hurt and we possibly die, correct? But he doesn't have he can stand in front of a train. He can do whatever he wants and he will never grow old and he will never die. And he begins and it grows heavier and heavier and heavier because there is nothing that he can do to feel that fulfillment, the fulfillment of sadness, happiness, remorse, all those feelings that we go through as a human being. So then towards the end, he decides that he needs to feel something. And so he kills his wife. He pushes his wife out the window and he goes to jail and he thinks he's going to get the death penalty. And this is going to be the ultimate kind of thrill ride, right? And I guess his lawyer screwed up and ended up getting him life in prison. Imagine that, right? Remember, he doesn't die, he will live forever. So he will spend eternity in jail. Well, kind of, right? Or, I mean, because once everybody in the jail passes away, I guess he could find a way to leave. But he's distraught because he can't experience the ultimate, I guess, form of death. He can't, be electrocuted or whatever they were going to do for the death penalty. So he's stuck in this jail cell for the rest of his life. And so the devil person that gave him this offer and this deal says that there's always an escape clause, so you can get out of it. So he decided to take on that escape clause, and he died of a heart attack. So, long story and me rambling on. But what am I trying to get with this story? That our strive and our need to find perfection isn't what gives us fulfillment. Because if we are ever faced with that decision, right? What if a fairy godmother comes up and says, I'm going to give you perfection. You are going to be perfect in everything you do. What else do we have left? What part of our humanness do we have left? We start yearning for fulfillment. We start yearning for things that we want because we have everything. So we don't need to want for anything. And we don't need to grow anymore. And what is the point and the purpose if we can't continue to grow? So, perfection isn't all that it's, strapped up to be. It's not, because we always want to be a work in progress. We always want to strive to be better, set those bars, and be able to raise the bar as we grow. If the bar can't move any further, we're done. We're literally dead inside, just like the character in the escape clause, always looking for a way to experience that fulfillment that he had when he felt like he was always sick and just never happy with anything. So that's my story. I like to ramble on with stories. I felt that it was a meaningful story because it kind of explained that thought of perfection and reaching something that, there is nothing above it, right? We reach the ends of infinity, and okay, well, where do we go from there if that's the end, right? Perfection isn't what we should be chasing after. We should be chasing after growth and allowing ourselves to continue to grow and grow and grow. So here's another aspect of perfection that stifles creative growth. Not believing in you, your process, or giving yourself credit. Because you feel you are out of your league, right? The next person posting on Instagram or social media, God, their art looks so much better than yours. Why can't I get to that level? Or you just continue to see all your faults and failures. You just notice them and you don't even recognize that you are actually amazing right where you are right now. I do it. I admit I do this. I do all of them. I always do. It doesn't matter how much I try to embrace where I am right now. I'm human. And yeah, I see someone post something on Instagram and I feel down and I feel like, wow, man, why can't I get there? Or I find all my faults and I let them come forward. And, remember yesterday I talked about how I can't finish paintings. I let that get the best of me. And then it just kind of, I shrivel up into a little ball, and I almost I can't function. So I need to, I need to stop doing that to myself. And I know I'm not alone in that. And I like to be transparent and raw, and share that feeling, because I know it's a feeling that we all have at some point in our creative process and journey and growth. So I've got another story about that, because the feeling that I'm not good enough, or the feeling that, wow, my art just isn't where it should be. It's in the eye of the beholder. And sometimes our eye is way too hard on us, and that we don't even realize that there's amazingness. It may be really amazing, but we're just not seeing it. We just keep putting those blinders on. So here's another story about that. So, I am a part of this artist group, and I'll talk about it. I'll tell a story about that later on. But I'm a part of this artist group, and there was a art submission call to submit a piece, a self-portrait of you doing what you do. You painting, sculpting, whatever you do. So I painted a self-portrait of me sitting in front of a painting that I'm working on, kind of contemplating how to move forward. I'm holding some paintbrushes. And it's a picture I took of myself a long, long time ago. And I said, this is a great pose. So let me paint this. And I remember painting it, and I remember feeling getting those feelings of doubt. I remember it. And I remember not being 100% happy with the finished piece, but I had a deadline and I had to get it in. So I submitted it. I just went for it. But I still felt kind of blah about my painting. I didn't, it looked great, but I just inner wise, I just was not happy. And so, but I submitted it anyway. And she accepted. It was accepted, and it looked good. It did look good. And so after everything was submitted, one of the other artists that submitted a painting sent me a message and was like, "I love it. All artists, we all think alike." And so basically her painting looked just like mine. We had this, it was a self-portrait of her. And we literally painted the same painting, same pose. And we had no idea. Like, I didn't contact her. I've never spoken to her. I've followed her for years because I thought she was the best artist in the world. And she's one of the reasons why I started doing my self-portrait, because I was so intrigued by her way of doing it. And I wanted to know more about her. So she contacts me and she's like, we all artists, we just all think alike, right? And I was like, yeah, and I love your painting. It is so amazing. And she messages me back and says, but yours is so much better. And I was like, mine is better than you. Like, this is an artist that I look up to, that I've been following for a while, that I think is, she's that bar that I'm trying to get to. And here she is telling me that she likes my painting better than hers. And I laughed and I wanted to respond, but I ended responding with a thank you. But really deep in my heart, I was like, really? Are you serious? Like, my painting is better than, you think my painting is better than yours? So the moral of the story here is, of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And we are really, really hard on ourselves and our art and what we create. We are so hard on ourselves. We are our worst critics sometimes. And yes, the inner critic that we talked about in day one contributes to that. And then we don't even realize that we may have created something amazing because we can't see past our criticism of ourselves. And in this case, I had an artist that I looked up to, and I felt I was nowhere near her ability, her expertise, telling me that she liked my version of the painting better than hers. So, lesson for me, that was a big kind of aha moment. Like, Krista, you are good at what you do. Pat yourself on the back and reward yourself. Celebrate yourself. You did an amazing job. And so that is, that's what perfection, trying to reach that level of perfection. That's what that does to us. It makes us really, it creates a meanness that we treat ourselves so badly, and we're so hard on ourselves, and we beat ourselves up for no reason. And why can't we just step back and just enjoy where we are right now and give ourselves a high five for the amazingness that we create in this moment in time? We can always create an opening for growth. We can always get better. So I thought that was a really funny story, because I was so like, I think I even cried. I think I was just so like, wow, just to have someone that I just looked up to so much, give me a compliment like that felt so good. And that's why I'm going to talk about it in a little while, how important it is to share your work, and find safe spaces to do that make you comfortable, because things like that are really important in helping us battle perfection and being okay with where we are and enjoying and trusting our process. Perfection can prevent us from moving forward. But we haven't talked about this yet. Fear can stop us cold in our tracks. Both move interchangeably, but have different evils that love to slither in and prevent you from creating. What is fear, though? What is it? How do we define it? It's not the boogeyman in the closet. It can be the boogeyman in the closet or being scared of the dark, right? There's different levels of fear. Fear in creativity is rejection. It's failure. It's being made fun of, ridiculed, falling down, stumbling, looking silly, sounding silly, not being taken seriously. We can go on and on and on, right? And a lot of these can come up through our history of growing up. Either we may have been bullied and made fun of, and we just can't get past that. And so we put up our force field to protect us. Sometimes that is the inner critic that protects us from being hurt. We don't want to be hurt. We're humans. We don't want to be hurt. We want to be loved. We want to be embraced. We want people to like us. So fear protects us, I guess, from all those scary things, right? What does fear make us do? We have a natural human response to fear, right? We've heard fight or flight. And I give courage to those that fight, because sometimes it's really hard to fight. I give people a lot of courage. But for me, I consider myself a painfully shy, introverted human being. And so fear is a big, big, scary thing for me. And whenever I'm faced with intense fear, I want to just crawl into a little ball like a baby, and I just want to go find a safe space to be safe. And I stop functioning. I stop functioning as the person that I am right now. I go into this kind of cocoon, and I try to prevent myself from getting hurt or scared or made fun of or whatever the fear is that I'm facing at that moment. And I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. This is a feeling that I feel many people go through. Fear is hard. Fear is rough. It's rough to be scared. And we go through different emotions. Either our heart starts beating, we can't talk, we start sweating, we hyperventilate. Our body reacts to fear, right? In so many different ways. It's hard to function. I totally get it. I totally get when we are scared to just show our work because we can't handle the rejection. And I mentioned in yesterday's day one about the inner critic, how I had stopped submitting to juried shows because I couldn't handle the rejection. I couldn't handle that fear. It was so debilitating to me. I couldn't deal with it. So I just stopped doing it. And so my game plan going forward this year is for me to push forward and challenge myself to face those fears, because those fears aren't that bad. Okay, I get rejected, but I can try again. It's not the end of the world. And another thing I talked about in day one's challenge, the story of, what if I didn't press that button, the send button? And what if I never responded to that email of getting the offer, the opportunity to paint a portrait of Kamala Harris for a magazine and get paid a lot of money to do that? What if I didn't even respond to the email because perfection keeps me, because I'm not ready yet, I'm not good enough, and fear keeps me away because I'm scared that I'm going to be rejected or somebody is going to make fun of me or they're going to hate everything that I do. And what if I just didn't do that? What if I didn't press the send button? I would have lost out on that opportunity to get my artwork on a cover of a magazine and lost the opportunity for getting exposure as an artist, which is really, really gold. It's gold if you can get exposure. So the what ifs, when fear and perfection come into play, the what ifs, what if, it's deep. It's really, really deep. And sometimes we miss out on so many opportunities because we are preventing ourselves from experiencing that, be through fear and the need to get to that perfect point that we feel we need to get there, right? All right. So let's talk about how we can take on fear and perfection head on and invite our creativity to shine. All right. So number one, we can reframe our perspective. Instead of seeing perfection as the ultimate goal, right? Putting that hard bar, hard stop, perfection, right? Because the hard concrete wall in front of us, we can't break through that. We can't get above that. And there's nothing above that, right? Shift your focus to progress and growth, right? Seek progress rather than perfection. Celebrate each step forward, each small victory, and each lesson learned. Celebrate your failures, celebrate the wonkiness, celebrate the silliness, because those are important too. We need to play and invite ourselves to play as well. Remember, the most beautiful journeys are often the ones with failure, upsets, mistakes, and small little victories. Those are some of the most beautiful creative journeys, the little things that we experience. Number two, embrace imperfection. Embrace the wonkiness, the messy, the chaos, the unexpected. Realize that your flaws, your failures, your vulnerabilities are not weaknesses. They are growth. They are how you grow. How are you going to know how to achieve greatness if you don't know what to fix, right? How you need to understand and embrace the failures, the flaws, the wonkiness. Those are the things that make us human. Those are the things that we're never going to kind of make them go away. We're always going to find chaos somewhere. We're always going to be wonky. I mean, as I get older, I get forgetful and stumble a little bit more, but that's always going to happen. And that's okay, right? Because I can work at it and it gives me a laugh. I can laugh at myself and I can say, you know what? I can do better. I can do better. And that's okay. Try not to be ashamed of the wonkiness and embrace it because it's there. It's real. It's there. We will always be wonky. And, it's something that makes us who we are, relatable and beautiful at the same time. Number 3, challenge, right? We talked about this in day 1. Challenge and silence that inner critic, the voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, right? Silence that. Make it kind of be quiet. Don't give your inner critic too much power, right? Question, challenge, and remind yourself of who you are, what you've accomplished, and be okay with where you are right here and now. It's okay if you stumble. It's okay if you don't think you're good enough, but embrace and enjoy the amazingness that you are right at this second. And your inner critic, yes, your inner critic is there to help you deal with that fear, right? They're there to protect you. The inner critic was probably created to be the protection, the force field. But we can break free of that and we can take challenges, we can take chances, and we can be okay. We don't have to be perfect. We can be okay. And that's good enough. Number 4, step outside your comfort zone, right? Do things that are uncomfortable and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I have a little drawing exercise that I like to do where I make wonky faces. And I'll share it with you for this week because it's uncomfortable. You're going to make wonky faces. You're not making perfectly drawn faces. And you're not picking up your pen and you're just kind of dancing around the page. And it's fun and it's play. And it's a great way to allow yourself to be funny and play and just kind of create with freedom and be okay with the wonkiness. And then you kind of go back and you create beautiful. You start doodling and you do all this fun little stuff. So I'll definitely share that with you because it's a great exercise to help with that. So with stepping outside your comfort zone, take on new challenges. Explore new adventures and avenues, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Our challenge for day 1 was try to submit, right, to a show, even though you don't feel you're ready. And that is one of mine because one of my fears is being rejected when I submit to a juried show. So I'm going to be uncomfortable. And I'm going to submit to a bunch of juried shows this year, even though it's uncomfortable. I'm going to push myself to be uncomfortable and be okay if I get rejected and use it as a growth tool to help me do better, going forward. Remember, the greatest risks often lead to the greatest rewards. And then number 5, celebrate the small wins. Every step forward, no matter how small, it's all good. These are all wins and successes for you. Acknowledge your progress and celebrate your achievements, even if they're little achievements. Give yourself a pat on the back. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself credit for just finishing a painting, or even simpler, just being able to sit in front of your easel for 10 minutes and creating, or just creating every day in your sketchbook or drawing or painting. Just give yourself credit for even the little things that you do. Every time you do this, you chip away the power of fear and build a foundation of creative confidence. The more you practice and incorporate play into your creative practice, the more you will build up that confidence to feel good the next time you step up to the easel, the next time you submit to a show, the next time you share a piece of artwork that you are experimenting with. All right. Number 6, seek support. I talked about this yesterday in day 1. Finding a safe space, a group, a mentor, taking an art class, surrounding yourself with other positive artists or people that can provide the positive feedback that you deserve and need. Try not to surround yourself in an environment that doesn't make you feel safe, that doesn't give you the positive reinforcement that you need. I used to go to when I lived on the East Coast, I used to go to the Art Students League, and I loved it. I really did. But there was one instructor there that just was always kind of grumpy, and he never really liked anything. And maybe it was, that's how art school, instructors are. I don't know. I didn't go to art school, but he just seemed to always, he never gave positive criticism. It was always kind of just, it was never good enough, or it's not good, or, and he made the comment once that when I do critiques for my students, if they're not crying, then I didn't give a good critique. And I'm like, why would you want to make someone cry? So find support that is going to give you the positive reinforcement that you need. I stopped going to that class. I loved going to the Art Student Leagues, but I stopped going to his class because I just felt like I wasn't getting, it was just always negative. And I understand I didn't go to art school, and I understand I have a lot more to learn, but your criticism isn't helping me grow. It's just kind of making me feel like crap and making me want to, again, go, resort to my introverted ways and go crawl into a corner and be left alone. That's not helping me. So find people that are positive and that will help you. Join communities, art groups where you can feel like you are a part of something and that it will help you. It will definitely help you build confidence going forward. Number 7, after all this, just be kind with yourself. Love yourself and enjoy where you are right now. You are exactly where you need to be right now. You're creating, and enjoy that. Celebrate the fact that you are just creating. You're doing creating. You're doing art. Celebrate that. If you just sit down and start doodling, celebrate that. You are engaging in the act of creativity, and we are all creators. I feel like I need to create. If I don't create, it's like not eating. It's like my blood's not flowing. It's like I'm not alive. It's like I need to create something. Doesn't matter what it is, but I need to be in the act of creating on a daily basis, or I'm struggling. So be kind to yourself. If you make a mistake, if you stumble, if you get rejected, it's okay. Stand up. I know it's hard. I know it is hard. But you can do it again. You can get another canvas. You can put that one canvas away if you don't like it, like me, and have a pile of unfinished. That's okay. I'm still standing. I'm here, still creating, and I'm here still taking on opportunities. Yeah, I have my faults. I'm honest with those faults, but I'm still here and I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm happy with just being given the gift to create and being able to create. So forgive yourself every so often. It's okay. Learn from your mistakes and allow yourself to move forward. All right. So what's the game plan here? To face fear and let perfection take a backseat. What's your game plan? And one more little story before we go. Just one. I'll make it really quick. And this kind of sets it all together. So quick story. I started portrait. I wanted to paint portraits. When I started painting, I was doing landscapes and I wanted to paint portraits, and I was so nervous and scared. I ended up buying stencils because I didn't know how to draw a face. I had no clue. And I was using these stencils and it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it and people really liked my art. I was doing all these mixed media things. And then I grew and I wanted to do more. I didn't want to do the stencils. I started tracing. Don't get on my case. It is art. It's just I felt anxiety. My anxiety level would be up here when I had to draw something. I could never get past that. So for me to get past that, I would trace it. I'd get a projector or trace it onto my canvas. It made me feel better. And I started doing that and I was having fun and things were working out. I was doing all these cool portraits, but I wanted more. So I started taking classes and learning how to draw a face. And I started getting better and better and better. And then I got to a point where I knew what my goal here wanted to be. I knew I was starting to set the bar for myself. And I had layers of bars, right? I want to do this. I want to learn this, but this is where I'd like to be. Now, it's not perfection, but I would follow a bunch of artists and I would be like, I just want to achieve that with this person. I want to achieve that. And so I allowed that to help me grow. So, I started following, and there were a lot of female artists, portrait artists that I really, really liked. And I started following them. And they were all a part of this specific group. And I wanted to inquire some more. Again, I was trying to create the bar, not perfection, but the bar that I needed to see. So I needed to see where my growth, the direction my growth needed to go. And so I inquired and I found some more information about this art group. And so this art group had some of the best artists, a lot of female artists. Amazing. And it's led by one woman and she basically offers, does a lot of artist calls, works on marketing, helping you market your work, getting your work in front of collectors and shows and museums and art fairs and what else? Magazines, getting yourself published. So she's got a lot of contacts and really important person if you want to take your creative art business that step further to sell art to collectors. That's the type of person you want to get in front of. So I was like, I'm joining this group because I need to set my bar. I need to see it. And if I join it, I can see it, I can experience it, and I have something tangible to see. It will be frustrating because I got frustrated plenty of times, but I needed to put that in front of me so I could see it. So I joined the group, and I knew I was way out of my league. These artists are, and when I told you about the woman who commented about my self-portrait, that she liked mine better, she was one of those people. And so I would submit to shows and I'd get rejected. I knew I wasn't good enough. I knew I was not there yet, but I submitted and I got frustrated and I gave up a few times. But the organizer of this group, she bought a piece of my art and she would comment every so often with really, these short positive statements, kind of nudging me to keep going. And she, about a year ago, she told me that I should submit to this art show, really prestigious art show. And I was like, really? I'm not, and my first reaction was like, well, I don't feel like I'm ready. And her answer to me was, it doesn't matter. You need to get your work out into the world so that they see it, so that your name is out there and they start seeing your name and your work. You need, for exposure, you need to put it out there to get exposed. So I couldn't get it I did not enter the show because I just couldn't get my act together, but I did enter other shows. And the end of the story is that I embraced this group, even though I was way out of my league. And even though I was around artists that were way better, way more talented, had way more experience than me. But I needed to challenge myself. And yes, I went through the ups and downs and the roller coasters of feelings, of not being good enough, of all these things. But I stayed on. And last year in 2023, I spent a lot of time focusing on me and getting myself to a point where I'm, building up confidence. And I have, the fruits of my labor, of all that, is that I sold a painting I submitted a painting in one of her shows and it sold. I have a solo show. I've been published a couple of times. And I have several art opportunities coming up next year with the group. So the end of the story is you have to push yourself, even though you feel that you are not there yet, even though you're going to fear the rejection because you're not there yet and you're probably out of, you're not in the right space right now, even though stick to it, because the more you put into it, you will see the fruits of your labor. And it doesn't happen. It's not a sprint. It's a long-term goal and it takes time. It takes time to grow as an artist. It takes time to understand where you want to be. But once you understand that and you take those challenges and you try not to let the feeling of perfection, because if I let perfection take over in my in that endeavor of me being a part of this group, I would have never joined the group because I would have always felt like I wasn't ready. I wasn't good enough. And yes, that art show that I did not submit to, I will be submitting the next time around. They do it every 2 years. So I will be doing it this time around. And I may not make it, but that's okay. I need to get my art out there to expose myself. So those are my stories. So in the end, what's the game plan? What's the game plan for this year to face fear and let perfection take a backseat? What's our game plan? So remember, you are where you need to be right now. You will continue to grow and learn every second thereafter. Let us let go of perfection and take fear head on, right? So here's the game plan. Again, Challenge yourself to create something every day. Keep a journal, a sketchbook, jot down ideas, sketch, doodle. No rules here. Just create, write, be messy, be wonky, be crazy, be funny, be serious, be okay with you. And, the more you practice and play, the more confidence you can build from that. Share your work. Share your work in spaces where you feel comfortable and safe. Join a local art group where you can share, network with other creatives, or just find another artist buddy to be with. Find an artist mentor, an instructor, take art classes, be around other artists so that you can get feedback and you can talk and ask questions. And I say this all the time, continue to learn. Take as many art classes that you can afford, that you can take on. Most art classes let you download the videos, let you keep them forever. So when I see a good class, I will buy it and watch it later on. I don't need to follow it religiously. I can go at my own pace. Take classes in person, online, whatever you can. Absorb as much knowledge as you can. Learning is important, and it's a big confidence booster. Plus, if you can find a mentor that you really trust and like, sometimes it's really great to get a third person, someone else, another set of eyes to look at your work and help you problem solve, help you find problems and solve them and give you that positive, constructive criticism that you need. All right. We do not have to let perfection and fear keep us from being the amazing creatives we were meant to be. We are creatives. We need to create, right? It heals us. It makes us feel good. It is fulfilling. If we don't do it, how do we feel, right? I know how I feel. It's a big reason why I took on the challenge to quit my job and follow my passion to being a full-time artist. I just had to do it. I hope you enjoyed day 2, my rambling on, my stories, but I hope they're helpful for you. This challenge is really great because it lets me kind of let loose of feelings and being transparent about feelings. Because I feel like as creators, we think that the artists that we see online are perfect. They never make mistakes. But I'll tell you right now, I'm always making mistakes. And when I'm editing video, I edit out the mistakes. So I just want to share with you that it's not always just this perfect space here. I make mistakes, and I like to share how I deal with those in my everyday creative life. So join me tomorrow for day 3, where we will be talking about how to develop your own style. Now, I get a lot of my students will say, I love taking your class. I painted your painting, but how can I make it my own? How can I make it me? So we're going to talk about that and kind of talk about, all this fear, perfection, inner critic could possibly be hiding your style. Your style might be right in front of you, but you're allowing the fear, the perfection, and the inner critic to not see it, right? We're not seeing it because we are allowing the inner critic, we're allowing our perfection and our fear to come forward, and we're not allowing our style to emerge, right? We're kind of covering up our style with inner critic, perfection, and fear. So we'll talk about that tomorrow in day 3 of our 7-day challenge. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for following, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy creating.